What's up, zoners? Today, I'm going to be helping you decide which wide receivers should be in your starting fantasy lineups. That means I got the top 5 best and the top 5 worst wide receiver quarterback matchups heading into week 11, man. You're looking at a chart supplied by ESPN.com. Wide receiver quarterback cheat sheet. Google it. Hey, I will leave a link down below, man, so follow along. And the first wide receiver we're going to be talking about today is the Dallas Cowboys, George Pickens. So I'll highlight him here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, man. It's George Pickens, all right? He is running routes on the outside, only in the slot 10% of the time, running a ton of routes. The most routes out of any wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's only at 176. This fool's over 300. And just look around. He's been running a ton of routes. His opportunity has been amazing this season. His target share is at 22%. 24 plus is elite. But hey, man, we're talking about a wide receiver too, so 22% is pretty damn good, and the efficiency, what he's been getting routes per fantasy points per route run is at 0.48. 0.45 is really good. 0.55 is elite. And hey, man, he is borderline elite right here. And who does he go against? Why am I telling you to start him? He's going against Kyu Blu Kelly, Las Vegas. I like targeting Las Vegas. And this fool has not been good at all. He is allowing 0.45 fantasy points per route run. That is one of the worst in the leagues. I mean, just look at these numbers up and down. You don't see one higher, do you? And as far as opposing offenses targeting this fool, 21% of the time, so more than 1 out of every 5 throws is going towards this guy's face, really, back of his head. And that's who George Pickens is going to be matched up against, man. And he's been covering a ton of routes at 221. So, hey, the most used cornerback on the team, and he is the worst cornerback on the team. He plays on the outside 100% of the time on one side. I just said George Pickens goes to the slot sometimes. They do move him around. So it's not going to be 100% on this guy, but Kyu Blu is going to see nobody more than George Pickens. So look for George Pickens to be a smash wide receiver 2 for you this week. All right, man, next wide receiver we're going to be talking about is a potential streamer for this week. The wrong Washington. I like Parker Washington more, but Malik Washington has one of the best matchups in the NFL this week. He is the slot wide receiver for Miami. No Darren Waller, no Tyreek Hill. Devon Achane still catching a ton of balls, but hey, man, this guy has to be targeted, right? His target share is at 20%. He's been running 189 routes, so hey, man, 20% on 189 routes. He's getting targeted quite a bit. The problem is he is not efficient at all with his catches at 0.28 fantasy points per route run. That is bad. That is real bad. All right. So Malik Washington needs to be better. And this is his week to do it, man, right now versus Mike Sainstrill, the worst cornerback for Washington. And that's saying a lot. He is a slot cornerback there in the slot 80% of the time. So he'll be seeing a ton of Malik, the freak, Washington. And he's given up 0.48 fantasy points per route run. Holy shit. That is terrible. I mean, just like, all up and down, man. That is the most given up by a ton of cornerbacks, maybe the worst in the league. And again, man, as far as him being targeted by opposing offenses, 20% of the time, so 1 out of every 5 throws, and he has been covering the most routes out of anybody on Washington. Look at this. Their secondary is jacked up, dude. Only 47 routes this guy's covered, only 34. Mike Sainstrill is like their workhorse of a cornerback, and he is terrible, dude. So look for Malik Washington to be a borderline flex this week. All right, man, next up, we're talking about streamers here. Here's another one, dude. Tyler Lockett shares my surname, all right? This guy came off the couch and is catching more balls than anybody, more targeted than anybody on this team. He is reunited with Geno Smith. He's in the slot 80% of the time, man, and with that offensive line, that Powers dude just got injured last game. He was like the best offensive lineman, as so it looked like. There's not going to be a ton of time to throw, man, so I'm looking at the slot wide receiver here and Brock Bowers. They're probably going to get the most targets. All right, let's see. He's only ran 168 routes this year. That's more than Dante Thornton Jr. And he's only scoring 0.16 fantasy points per route run. That was with a different team, so we can't take a lot out of that. And again, only 17% target share, but a lot of that was with a different team. I think he led the team in targets just this last week. So Tyler Lockett, man, I'm telling you, this week is probably going to be a flex option, especially in full PPR. And who does he going against? Dude, the guy that got all the money from the Dallas Cowboys, DaRon Bland. All right, he had that great, rookie season or second year when he got those couple of pick sixes or whatever. And that's it, dude. Right now he's playing as one of the worst cornerbacks in the league. 0.41 fantasy points per route run allowed, and he's being targeted again almost 20%. So almost 1 out of every 5 throws is going towards this fool. And look at the secondary in general from Dallas. Kaiir Elam, who's on this list almost every week, man. This guy sucks too. And now they're rolling out Kalen Carson, who's only covered 17 routes, man. So holy shit, target the Dallas Cowboys. And Tyler Lockett, man, is probably going to be around a wide receiver 35 for me this week. All right, man, next wide receiver is a smash, man, especially after this last week. Emeka Egbuka, all right, runs routes all over the place. It's like Jamar Chase. It's like 33%, 33%, 33%. Emeka's getting there himself. Has ran the most routes out of any wide receiver for Tampa Bay. That's where he's getting at right now. His target share is at 26%. I talked about 24 plus is elite, and he's well above that. 0.49 fantasy points per route run. As a rookie wide receiver, he's been super efficient with his targets. Again, 0.45 is very good. 0.55 is elite, and he's between the two. And hey, man, who does he get this week? Who is it? Buffalo's. He's going to be shadowed, right? Like Buffalo's Christian Benford. You're like, okay, our best quarterback should be the shadowing guy, right? Wrong. It's full. Is giving up 0.41 fantasy points per route run. Opposing offenses know it, man. They're targeting him 20% of the time. So again, 1 out of every 5 throws is going towards him. And he has covered the most routes out of anybody for Buffalo at 206. So he plays on the outside 100% of the time, only in the slot 0% of the time. We just talked about Emeka Egbuka playing the slot around 35, 33% of the time. So there will be times when he is not covered by this guy. But hey, Christian Benford is going to be seeing nobody more than Emeka Egbuka. Expect another wide receiver top 5 finish from him this week. All right, man, next wide receiver has been on a hot streak. 3 out of the last 4 games, like 16 plus fantasy points, getting like 7 targets a game in this offense. Jameson Williams, man, he got all that money before the year. I thought he was going to blow up. Did nothing. Now he's doing something with his life. He plays on the outside, 75% of the time runs his routes. He's ran the most routes out of anybody on Detroit, more than Amon-Ra St. Brown at 268. The problem is his target share is at 15%. Everything goes towards Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta. But lately, this number will be going up. 0.35 fantasy points per route run. So his efficiency has just been okay. But we're looking for that to be 0.45, man, with a higher target share. And he will be a wide receiver 2 for your team. It'd be insane. And who's he going to go against? How's he going to be wide receiver 2 this week? He's going against Philadelphia's only bad cornerback, dude. They have got Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, right? They're killing it. 0.23, 0.25. This fool gets Adoree Jackson at 0.36 fantasy points per route run given up. And that's not, that's really bad. There are a lot of cornerbacks in the 0.40s, but look at this guy's target percentage, man. Opposing offenses target this guy 27% of the time. More than 1 out of every 4 throws is going at Adoree Jackson, man. So Jameson Williams, if they throw the ball 40 times, that's 10 targets right there. So that's crazy. Adoree Jackson, not as bad as some of the other cornerbacks here, but Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are so good. This fool gets targeted left and right. So look for Jameson Williams to be a wide receiver 2 this week. All right, man, on to the wide receivers with the worst matchups this week. And my number 1 question is, hey, who's going against the Atlanta Falcons? Because they're stopping everybody right now, and they've got one lockdown corner that is stopping everything. So Xavier Legette right now has the worst matchup of the week, right? And they do move him around a lot, so you might get away from him. But I don't care, dude, the way the Falcons are playing. And he's ran the second most routes behind Ted McMillan, only a 17% target share, and only 0.23 fantasy points per route run. So you're not starting Xavier Legette in a bad matchup. And he has the worst matchup this week against AJ Terrell and the Falcons. This guy's only given up 0.09 fantasy points per route run. All right. That is the fewest out of any cornerbacks in the league. He's only targeted 10% of the time, dude. If they throw the ball 30 times, that's 3 targets. 4 times, 4 targets. None of that sounds good to me. So, yeah. So this week, man, we are keeping Xavier Legette on every bench this week. All right, man, next up is a wide receiver that's been a huge pain in my ass. I have him, man. He fell to me in a draft. I thought it was a miracle. It was a curse. Brian Thomas Jr., BTJ, right? He's got one of the worst matchups this week, coming back off of an injury, but without Travis Hunter. Jakobi Meyers is there, but Jakobi Meyers is a slot. Brian Thomas Jr. runs routes on the outside 75% of the time. He's ran the most routes. His target share is great, dude. 22%. That's not elite at 24, but it's still pretty damn good. 0.26 fantasy points per route run. This guy is producing, so his efficiency has been very bad. I don't know if it's a Trevor Lawrence problem or a BTJ problem. I think it's both. And who is this guy matched up for? He's such a bad matchup. Dante Jackson from the Chargers, one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now. The Chargers don't allow a ton of points anyways, and this is their best cornerback. So not good. 0.15 fantasy points per route run he's given up. His opposing offenses are targeting 17% of the time. That's still higher than I'd like. I'd like to see 15 or below if I'm really thinking a bad matchup. But Dante Jackson's covered a ton of routes at 189, 181, and is the team's best cornerback. I would not be messing around with BTJ this week. Probably a borderline flex for me. I just traded him away with Baker Mayfield and Kamani Vidal for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tell me what you think about that trade. All right, man, next up is a wide receiver that was supposed to be really good. I just picked him up off of the waiver wires, I think, in our listener league. And I needed a wide receiver, dude. I think a couple of people need wide receivers, and they're letting Xavier Worthy walk, man. So another bad matchup this week. It's not going to get any better. Surprisingly, he's running a ton of routes out of the slot. I mean, 60% of the time he's on the outside, but he's running a lot out of the slot, which should help him a little bit. 24% target share. What are we doing here, people? Now, that is skewed because a lot of that was without Rashee Rice and such. So that number should be going down. But still, man, an amazing target share. Only his efficiency sucks. 0.33 fantasy points per route run. If that was at 0.45, we'd be talking about him maybe being a decent flex option every single week. But right now, man, he's almost droppable the way that it's going. And this week, you probably want to keep him on your bench because he's going against Denver's Jaquan McMillan. He is in the slot 95% of the time, but he's still matched up with Xavier Worthy on this chart because of, Xavier Worthy's running a lot of routes from the slot right now, which is kind of crazy. So, hey, man, this guy is only given up. Let me highlight him so you can see. 0.02 fantasy points per route run. He's Denver's best cornerback since Surtain is gone. Opposing defenses are only targeting this guy 17% of the time, but he's covered a ton of routes, man. Him and Riley Moss have been playing all season long. Chris Abrams-Drain is the guy that's coming in for Surtain, and he looks like the cornerback to target, giving up 0.30 fantasy points per route run. But holy shit, man, bad matchup against this defense. And then he also gets the worst cornerback to go up against as well. So Xavier Worthy, man, I probably would leave him on my bench one more week. People are dropping him, for God's sakes. All right, man, next up, this guy's efficiency numbers are insane, but he has a terrible matchup this week. Puka Nacua. All right, what do you have to say about him, man? He runs 40% of his routes out of the slot. That's much more than Devontae Adams. But, 60% of the time he's on the outside. His target share is at 35%. That might be the highest in the league with Jamar Chase pretty damn close to him. Now, efficiency is at 0.74 fantasy points per route run. So, one of the highest target shares in the league, and one of the highest fantasy points per route run in the league, if not the highest. I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, no, I see Rashee Rice is at 0.77 right now, but he's just coming back, dude. A smaller sample size. Puka Nacua has been insane this year. So, hey, a downgrade to Puka Nacua is like he goes from top 2 wide receiver. Oh my God, I got a dog behind me. I was like, what the hell? To like a top 12 wide receiver. So, hey, still going to start him versus Tariq Woolen. But Tariq Woolen's been playing really well as of late. He's only given up 0.19 fantasy points per route run. That defense scares me as a whole, regardless. He's only been targeted 15% of the time. All right, man, next wide receiver I'd feel way more comfortable with Jackson Dart throwing the ball because, I think he had 11 targets versus Denver, and that was one of the worst matchups in the league. So almost, hey, you're starting him no matter what. But with Jameson Winston there, it might be even better. But still, Wan'Dale Robinson's getting a downgrade without Jackson Dart. He is a slot wide receiver running 71% of his routes from the slot. He's ran the most routes out of any wide receiver on this team at 306. His target share is the highest at 24%, which is elite. That's the borderline. His efficiency has been pretty good at 0.36. Nothing great. If it was at 0.45, man, this fool would be like a top 15 wide receiver, man. I've been trying to trade for this guy for a while, but Jackson Dart being out really sucks. I would not want to start him this week. Now he gets Green Bay's best cornerback. Plays in the slot 98% of the time, so they're going to see a ton of each other. Javon Bullard, man. Giving up 0.20 fantasy points per route run and only targeted 13% of the time, which is one of the lowest targets rates for cornerbacks in the league. You can just look up and down. You don't see anything for 13%, 14% for Colton Davis. But still, man, so Javon Bullard is a tough matchup. And Wan'Dale Robinson has to go against him with Jameson Winston, which is better than Russell Wilson, but without Jackson Dart. So I'll have him as a lower end flex option in full PPRs this week. All right, man, on to man versus zone. We're going to be going over the players that we highlighted with the good matchups and look at the defensive schemes they're going to be going against. See how great they are, efficient they are against those schemes, and see if it gives us more confidence or less confidence in these players. So George Pickens versus Las Vegas. He is 0.45 fantasy points per route run versus man, almost the same versus zone at 0.48. Las Vegas plays zone the 5th most. So, hey, I mean, he's pretty much the same man versus zone, a little bit better versus zone. So George Pickens, great matchup and nothing to be afraid of with the scheme Las Vegas is playing. Malik Washington versus Washington. Great, dude. 0.20 fantasy points per route run versus man. That goes up to 0.28 versus zone. The problem is that Washington plays man the 9th most. So Malik Washington, great matchup, but he's not that great versus man relative to zone, and they play man a lot. So slight downgrade for Malik Washington. Tyler Lockett, man. You can't even take these numbers seriously. 0.05 fantasy points per route run versus man. 0.18 fantasy points per route run versus zone. Now, he is an older player. I would expect him to be better versus zone than man regardless. So I do like that. And Dallas plays zone the 10th most. So Tyler Lockett, man, is my sleeper, my streamer of the week, man. At full PPR, should see slightly more targets and be more efficient with those targets this week versus a heavy zone. Mika Egbuka versus Buffalo. 0.28 versus man, 0.51 versus zone. But the problem is, Buffalo plays man and zone at an average NFL rate. So even though Egbuka is much better versus zone, we can't really take anything out of that. Jameson Williams, last up, man versus Philadelphia. 0.48 fantasy points versus man. So that makes sense. Super athletic. He's beating man all the time. But as far as him finding a spot in the zone to sit down on, he's not that great at that. Philadelphia plays man the 12th most. So that is higher than average. Jameson Williams, man, you better be starting him this week. All right, man, if you've got wide receivers you want me to talk about, please comment down below, and I will get to it when and if I can. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up, man. Hopefully I earned a subscription. That's exactly what this show needs right now, man. Please, God, please. This is Tyler Big Turd Ward. This is a Fantasy Red Zone, and I appreciate